Get ready for 8 straight weeks of excitement. RVT Entertainment has teamed up with Team Dynamite Productions to bring you all of the events from this year's MetroCon. Each week, the Shades will premiere a new video of each event, followed by a live chat with the cast and crew from said event. Here's the lineup. Week 1 will light the flames with the Metro Fire Show, Skyrim. Week 2 will send the laughs through the cosmos with the Star Party, In Space. Week 3 will keep your funny bone tickled with Metro Night Live. Week 4 will be going crazy with Rhythm City Chronicles. Week 5 will head to the Wastelands with the Borderlands Assault on Metro. Week 6 will save the day with the Superhero Comedy and Stunt Show. Week 7 will feel the love and the Fantasy Masquerade. And finally, Week 8 will turn the chaos to 11 with the Anime Human Combat Chess Match. So tune in to the Shades YouTube channel every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern starting August 8th for all the exciting action. It's MetroCon. May the gear turn on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of Rider the Transformation live here on RVTV. How y'all doing, everybody? Yes, folks, we are here for one. We are finally able to get to the Q&A that we have been promising for weeks now, and trust me, every single one of us here is as pissed about taking this long as you are. But tonight the gang is all here. I'm the Shades, along with my boys, Matty Jay, Mikshel, and Mildra the Monk. Guys, how we doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real damn good.
Yep. Now,
I fucking called it.
And there we have our markout moment for the week.
Yeah, there's our markout for the night. Let him have his moment, folks. Let him have his moment. Now, I know we kind of already showed this last week. We're going to show it to you guys. For those who were here last week, we're going to give you our first, or well, I guess our second taste of something new of the future of the TRPG streams here. Because up until last week, you guys have been seeing this screen for the entire show. I know how boring that's been. Well, tonight, we're going to once again fix that. Because here's the new look. Hi, everybody!
Hi.
And now a lot of you guys get to see Mildred for the first time on camera.
And his glorious beard.
Yes, very glorious indeed. And if either of you play that theme song, I swear to God...
We've already had one glorious Bob today. We don't need two.
Yeah, Mike already pulled that crap on us earlier when he got his camera working.
Ah, I see what you did there, Mike. I see.
Yeah. And yes, Sandman, we are using Roll20, as you have figured out. We mentioned this last week, but yeah, we're using the Roll20 system from here on out for our next game. The official game that we're using, the game title is called Numenera. And trust me, we'll be explaining that later. But the stream name from here on out will be To the Steadfast and Beyond! And don't worry, I'll be having
that much mileage out of a title gag that I basically pulled out of my ass. I thought calling it RVT Presents Numenera would be a little too pretentious.
To be fair though, you haven't watched a Pixar movie, so that probably might have influenced it just a tad.
Well,
maybe.
Well, as with every little gag that I do, there's layers to my puns. And
Indeed.
I will get to that. I will get to that in a moment when it comes to explaining what the hell we're doing.
Yeah, but that's for later. Well, we're going to be going into the future of TRPGs later on tonight. Right now, we need to talk about our past because, of course, for the last few months, you guys have been enjoying our runs of Kamen Rider, well, Rider the Transformation, our Kamen Rider TRPG. Myself, of course, is Justin Osmond, Kamen Rider Virtue. Matty over here as Jerry Kelby, Common Rider Lynn. And Mike over here as Bosch Flemis, Common Rider Tempest. Shut up, phone. God, my Twitter's going crazy tonight. Holy crap.
Probably tell you YouTube's fucking up again for some dumb fucking reason.
Yeah, I see Jonathan 10 bitching about it over there. Can't be. Holy shit, gee. Zeltrax, chill, dude. I got
What's up
10,
with
I got a
Zeltrax?
whole but well, Zeltrax always keeps retweeting, like, he favorites and retweets every tweet that I pull. And he did that again tonight, because, yeah, he's got, holy jeez, Zeltrax, chill. Anyway, but yeah, YouTube's working fine on my end. You guys can hear and see us, so obviously it's working. Trust me. Anyway, and of course we have the chat up here for you guys to see, you know, so that you guys know we can see your questions. And we are aware that some of you can't use YouTube right now. So Mildra has got, so if you guys can't ask, if you guys cannot use the YouTube chat for whatever reason, then you can also message us on Discord. I know Mildra's already getting some of that tonight.
Yeah, I've gotten a few questions. I got a few questions ahead of time earlier from Supernova, but before I get to any questions, I need to get something out of my system because there is a certain rant that I have been saving for the last 4 weeks or 5 weeks, depending on how.
You've been holding it. You've been holding it in longer than that.
Yes, I have.
I know you now.
Okay.
Oh, brace yourselves, folks. Here he goes.
Rat mode.
Rat mode engaged.
Okay. Now, in the last few episodes of Writer the Transformation, I decided I wasn't going to do a season 2 because I wanted to do something different. Now, as to why, that is something I'll get into in a minute. But here's the thing. I had asked Shades a favor because I was going to do something different and I wanted the fans to get a little bit of input. So I asked him to post up on both Twitter and on both his the Shades Facebook and the RVT Facebook to basically ask the fans what kind of genre they'd like us to tackle next, and I gave a few examples. And I got plenty of examples through Shades and sending back to me. Now some of you had actually gotten the hint. One of you didn't. Because what I asked was for genres. I asked for fantasy. I asked for science fiction. I asked for post-apocalyptic. I asked for wuxia. I asked for urban. I asked for noir. I asked for genres. But
he didn't ask what bar.
Matty, there's a time and a place. This is needed.
I know, but there needs to be
let
comedy in
the
this
man
rant.
have his rant, Matty. Let the man have his rant.
All right. Where are you?
And I need to point out one person in particular that sent me a bunch of requests that were the complete wrong things to do. Lex.
Oh no!
Oh, and he's in the chat. He's like, "Oh, someone's gonna get Dave." Yeah, it's you, buddy.
Did I ask for tabletop Digimon? Did I ask for tabletop Doctor Who? No. I asked for fucking genres. Genre. Doctor Who is not a genre. Digimon is not a genre. So Lex, assume the motherfucking position. Dave!
Oh, I felt that one. Damn.
Ooh.
You probably deserve that. Jonathan, do not start with me.
Woo!
Which, by the way, there's a Whovian and then there's a Digimon freak in this call. So
Yeah.
you're forgiven.
For now.
Jonathan, don't start. Otherwise, you'll be next.
Yeah, I would. Because it's my gimmick, I need to get it out of the way. You definitely deserve that. And LPH, no tabletop WWE. I have that, but we're not doing that.
No. All right, let's explain why we're going in the direction that we are with our TRPGs, because I know a lot of you out there were really hoping we were going to do the Sentai TRPG next, because that was kind of the idea that we started with. Well, here's the thing. One of the things we quickly learned while setting this up in the setting up writer is that the three of us over here, even though I have some experience in TRPGs, we're still fucking noobs. Okay? We are fucking newbies when it comes to this shit. And the biggest problem we had when setting this up is that we weren't able, much less willing, to step outside of our comfort zone and play characters that aren't us. Because, let's be completely honest here. Those characters that we played in Rider, that was us. Those were just extensions of us. There really wasn't that much difference.
Yeah. And I tolerate, and yes, LPH, you definitely deserve that, Dave.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to give him an extra one. Dave!
Ooh.
You probably deserve that.
No, he definitely deserved that.
But here's the thing. Now, when it came to doing Rider the Transformation, now to be fair, even I, as a veteran since 1998, realized that doing Sentai is not as easy as some people might like to think. And I will get into the difficulties of doing Sentai later on. Sorry, carbonation. The first thing is that I opted to use Rider the Transformation as a way of easing everybody in, because there was a lot of stuff writing against me when it came to doing this. Even though, as I do with a lot of things, I was creating the setting and a lot of the house rules by myself. Like, I heavily house ruled Rider the Transformation, and I still had problems. And as Lady K has pointed out several times, when it came to the characters being overpowered, that was something that just went out of my control, and I just decided to run with it, because I've ran with overpowered characters before. I've done my fair share of Exalted and similar games. And at that point I resigned myself to trying to make the game 100% balanced, and instead decided to focus on being able to communicate a good story, since storytelling is one half of the part of a TRPG.
Yeah, because I think we all pretty much knew by that, but especially in that last episode, that these two were OP as fuck, and that's not even getting to me. Well, you want to talk about? Do we need to mention that last attack I did?
They did not take the game off the rails. I did very well at keeping the game on the rails. It was more that I stopped fighting the game system.
Yeah.
And Biohybrid, I'm not going to Dave you, but I am going to be putting in a new rule. Because the sole reason that I stuck with Rider the Transformation is because that was one of the two that you sent me when you called me up over Skype and invited me to take part in this little endeavor. Because the two choices that you gave me was a D20 D20 Sentai class, which I had already known about, that was in Giant in the Playground. Great site, by the way. and Rite of the Transformation, which was always on Giant in the Playground. I worked with that one because I felt it was a little bit more complete. But as we were working with the game, it was like I was looking at the evil portrait. I kept seeing more and more stuff, and the big problem is that it is very much a kit bash of two separate games. The World of Darkness system, which is used in Exalted, Street Fighter, Scion, Trinity, and of course stuff like Vampire the Masquerade, and the D20 system, i.e. D&D and a whole host of other things. And the thing, plus every single person in the group can attest to the fact that there were multiple times where I was tearing my hair out trying to get the thing to work the way I wanted it to, especially when it came to some of the stuff with Shades' character in the multiple forms, because the whole form changing thing, that was my creation. That was not in the core rules.
Which it confounds me. It's like, how do you have Alpha and Omega forms, but when even as far back as Kuga, they had multiple forms going on? How do you not accommodate that?
Even going as far, now, someone will probably correct me. The first instance of what I refer to as utility forms was Black RX.
Yeah.
You could argue Stronger as well, having upgrade form.
I don't argue Stronger because Stronger I felt was more of a power-up form than a utility form.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Black RX would be the first utility form.
Because the difference between the two is that a power-up form is just a power-up. It may have its limitations, but it's still just an upgraded version of what they could already do. Maybe adding some bells and whistles. A utility form isn't necessarily an upgrade or a downgrade. It's a shift to the side that emphasizes other aspects. Much like how in that BioRider was faster and more maneuverable, but wasn't as durable, while RoboRider was the complete opposite. Could certainly take a punch. Yeah, it could take a punch, but he couldn't dodge one.
Yeah. Then again, with how often he just walked through explosions, he didn't fucking need to. Like, that thing was a fucking tank.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Not to mention that last little bit where this guy. Where's Mike?
You were pointing the right way. You were pointing the right the first time.
You're pointing the right way. Yep.
This guy blew up a dude in one shot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, about fucking time you used your powers right, which gets me to one other thing. Hey,
Oh, we're ready for that bit.
5 things that Kamen Rider Tempest has learned he can't do. Now, just to get out of the way, Biohybrid. The problem was you were looking for specific Kamen Rider RPGs. Like, I could have if you had left it up to me, I could have easily just modded Marvel Heroic and gotten a much more balanced result. Now, onto the thing. Number 5, the dice gods hate you.
Oh God, yes they do.
Yes.
Oh,
Matty and Shades and myself are rolling dice pools out the ass, and you're just rolling 4 dice. Number 4, I have more than just long burst fires. I should use it.
Your turret used it better than you did.
Number 3, I have a giant shield. Why am I not blocking everybody else?
How many attacks could we probably handle better if you had used that fucking thing?
Number 2, I'm the fucking cleric. Why am I not healing somebody?
I'm pretty sure I healed my teammates more than you did, buddy.
And if you're wondering whether or not I would use it for healing initiative, yes, I would have considered initiative a type of damage worthy of healing with that. I would have bent the rules with that so that you'd be able to use, but you never asked. And number one,
Here it comes.
wait for it. I am not Captain America.
I did.
Play him off, Paul.
And no, I will not let go of that. That is going to be my ancient ninja electric guitar. I asked everybody to give me one unique gimmick. You showed me an image of the shield gun from one of the Transformers series. I made you a shield gun. You can fire while defending. Why were you throwing your shield and wasting spirit on using backsies? Hell, I would have been perfectly fine with it. I would have been perfectly fine with this sort of thing if you used it as some sort of flurry and maybe give you a 3-dice stunt, but you didn't do that. Which brings me to one thing that I think everybody has learned. You need to be able to better describe your actions. That's why I kept sending you guys YouTube links.
Yeah.
You notice I did my whenever I was trying to describe what I was doing. I was trying to give as much detail as I could. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel miserably, but still.
And to your credit, you were able to work with that pretty well. And I was especially proud of the finish that I gave you for Earthform, because we have never seen a rider knee.
No.
We've seen a knee finish in Super Sentai, but not. Well, okay. If I want to stretch things a bit, I could argue Kamen Rider Emperor, but that's kind of a stretch. Like Reed Richards being quartered, kind of a stretch.
Yeah. I don't know how I did, but I sense I was doing a little better as we went along. To be honest, I don't know if I did. I don't know if I would give myself a passing grade on describing, but I think especially as far as hard to describe how my moves were. You gave me a lot of help, though.
Yeah, I did. And when you had mentioned that you wanted to take a lot of notes from wrestling, and admittedly, grappling is one of those things that a lot of RPGs kind of struggle with. So don't feel too bad on that. And even the games I like don't exactly get it right. And this one because it was doing that kit bash I mentioned had it kind of half finished. But the thing that Rider the Transformation I both loved and hated at the same time was the way it handled powers.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because now, on one hand, the idea that you gain powers automatically, you don't have to spend XP to get them. You're just spending XP for the power sets, i.e., Earth, Fire, Air. Though they gave them a bunch of wacky Japanese names.
Yeah.
Like, I get why they did it. It just came off like, why are you doing that? If it's going to be darkness, why call it Kurayami? Just say it, man.
Yeah. Especially, but then they got ridiculous because they had the advanced power sets with like space, which yes, it was labeled Uchu. And if ever you say the fucking line, you will be daved.
Yep. But
yeah, one thing I've wanted to do, and it's kind of a regret. A lot of if we were so freaking overpowered, and the fights would have lasted a little longer, I probably would have thrown in a few more Lucha Libre influences in there. I just, for the longest time, one of my biggest things was, can't I do a freaking splash or a dive or something, where a guy lies down, he's prone, and I could do an elbow. That would have been the first thing I would have done, is the old Macho Man elbow.
Harold is asking for it. Oh,
and immediately retracts it.
He's learning.
Lex! Really? Really?
You bring this up now of all times.
Really? Yeah, one, you brought it out. Two, dude. Considering the people I hang with, did you not think my Facebook would have blown the fuck up over that? Come on.
Also, Bio, you're pushing it.
No. I'll give him a pass because I get was reference. He's doing Zangetsu from Gaim when he turned into Forze Arms. He starts to do the line. He's like, that's too far to go with that.
I remember that now. Yeah.
That's
he gets a pass. That's a different reference. He's good. He's
off the hook for now.
Back to the point I wanted to make.
Back to the point.
The other thing is that when it came to doing the powers, now I see where they're going with. They were very much trying to evoke the power requirements that Exalted has, except Exalted only has two main requirements, and that being level of essence, which is translated to writer as Tamashi, and the skill. Like in order to use a certain essence, in order to use a certain thing, you might need to have, say, 2 essence and 3 dots in melee, that kind of thing. This does that exact same thing, but it decides to add a third one in the power set. And it is a little too specific. And when it comes to certain attacks, it is a little too specific. Like the fact that say, let's see, what would be a good example? Oh yeah, Sharp Edges. The fact that Sharp Edges is melee and not unarmed. Like given. Power set is basically the elements. Is basically the elements that they can use. Lex, fire, water, earth, air, electricity, light, and darkness, as well as and you can eventually get advanced powers depending on how you set it up. It's a nice system. It just needed more thought.
Yeah.
But the problem is every time that they did an upgrade, I had to go through the entire power set chapter to see what was getting added.
Yeah, not just every power set, but every time we upped our skills, you had to double check because suddenly I have enough skill point. I have enough in a certain skill to get that power too. Like, I just upped up my melee. Now I have all these melee moves unlocked. And God, I felt bad for you when you had to go through after I got Nirvana form.
Yeah, that was an afternoon.
Imagine, because at that point I had just about everything.
And, not exactly, Bio. Sharp Edges is a basic earth power. It allows you to do stronger attacks after you've taken damage. The book is very vague as far as how the various powers are supposed to look, and that's by design. Let's see.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, a friend of mine is unable to comment.
Huh? Weird. I don't have this thing restricted.
It's the same link as always, right?
Yeah, bear in mind it's on my channel, not on the RVT channel. Because the RVT channel's down right now, remember?
Yeah, I know.
Fuck DVSI.
I linked the one to the stream.
Are you linking to my stream or the RVT stream?
I will put up the link that I.
Because remember, the RVT stream page is not enabled right now.
Well, this is the link that I used.
All right, let me take a look.
Wait, never mind. They fixed it.
All right, cool.
All right, sorry about that. Lex, the other forms, he had 1 dot in light and 1 dot in darkness, but those weren't used very often. Obviously, you're not expected to use all of the powers. I mean, Matty had a lot of ice and air powers.
Mm-hmm. And I barely got to use them. Which sucks.
Hey, babe.
Hello, welcome to the madness.
But with that said, the other thing when it came to Nirvana form, that was designing that form was basically the moment where I said, you know what, fuck trying to make this thing balanced. We're just going to go all out and see how batshit crazy we can get.
And I think we accomplished that.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much, again, refer back to that last attack. That final attack I did on frickin' Caldwell.
We went batshit crazy.
You know you've done something special when you end up getting a record in my books.
I'm gonna wear that like a badge of honor, sir.
If you make yes, Lex, that's kind of what I was going for. I'm pretty Jonathan, there's already a Snake Kamen Rider.
Go watch Ryuki. Ryuki's already got you covered there. The only downside is he's pretty much one of the villains.
But he was one half of the inspiration for Kamen Rider Predator.
Oh God, Predator. The one guy who actually kicked our ass.
Yeah.
The one guy who actually kicked our ass.
Let's see.
Yes, Strike, as he was known in Dragon Knight today.
Yeah.
But Predator, I essentially designed as having the worst aspects of Kaisa and Oja.
Oh Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, being that total level of just the thing is, both of them are crazy, but they're too kind. But it was when talking with Easy about when I put him the question of who's crazier between Kaisa and Hojo, and his argument and he had said that they're both the same crazy level of crazy. It's just 2 different types, and it was at that point that it dawned on me that he was right in a way, because Oja embodies the worst aspects of chaos. And Kaisa is the worst aspects of order. Yeah. And Hojo was cursed just by being named Hojo.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Japanese characters in like any media, the name Hojo very rarely ends up doing good. Final Fantasy VII, anybody?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. If you get named that, it's kind of like getting named after a certain kind of element. You're guaranteed you're going to be a comic book villain.
Pretty much.
Now, I do want to take the time for a moment because there were a series of questions that Supernova RX had given me that I want to run down. He sent them to me over the Discord chat, and I'm just going to run them down as best I can. Okay, the first question is, what is your style when creating characters? I treat it like a seed. I often tell my students and I told all three of you, think of a concept that basically describes what you want to do in, say, a sentence at the least and a paragraph at the most. To use an example, Shades wanted to effectively do techno magic, and he referenced double and how if you look close at a lot of the equipment used in that series, you can see a lot of wires and it's not prettily put together. And it was through that it created the whole thing of Arcano Technician, a title I blatantly stole from Cthulhu Tech. But the point is, it starts with that simple idea, and then you do some back and forth and some thinking, and it just grows from there until you've got the full thing. But the key thing is either asking the player questions or asking myself questions. The next question is, what is spell check? What are some of your favorite moments playing D&D? I'd say the best moments I've had when it comes to playing D&D is the insanity that can happen at times. Like those completely unplanned, grandiose moments that just go into legend. They think like you are now the idiot who killed a dragon with his foot, or if you've seen Darkness Rising, which all of you should because that is the real D&D movie, not that one with Jeremy Irons overacting, though that is glorious.
Let that blood rain from the sky.
I love that movie, but it is not the D&D movie. It is a fantasy movie that uses a few D&D elements. But the D&D movie is the gamer's Darkness Rising. It perfectly encapsulates the feel of playing D&D. And the running gag in that film was the bard, because he was constantly getting killed. To the point where they had the bard. To the point
oh my God! They killed the bard! You
bastards!
To the point where they were able to hide behind a mound of dead bards because he had 50 copies of his character sheet.
Actually, Mildra, question: have you ever seen Pro Jared's D&D December videos?
I have not seen anything from Pro Jared.
Okay. You'd probably get a kick out of his videos because he describes a few incidences he had playing D&D with his buddies. And the one that I recall that I think you'd get a kick out of is when he had a party of guys, and one of them, who was already like pooper buffed up as it was, drank a potion of giant strength. Fire giant strength, if I recall.
Oh, God.
Caught a ballista shot and was swinging it like a frickin' baseball bat, clearing the path, and skipped an entire dungeon Jared had planned and killed the boss, like, in no time. Watch the video and you hear the full thing, you would laugh your ass off.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Oh, and Jonathan, as far as that Zodiac thing, if that's what you want to do, make that character yourself. Maybe I'll put it in my blog in my Characters with Characters series, which I'm already planning on doing with some of the characters for this, anyways. But the thing is that the best moments with D&D are the ones that you're not expecting. This is the reason why I've been a very vocal critic of how Spoonie runs his campaigns, because the guy who taught me D&D, there's one phrase that he taught me that I've never forgotten, and that is, a novelist is just shorthand for a shit DM. Because if you try and write it like you would write for, say, a video game or for a novel, you're essentially doing what's referred to as railroading. This is a bad thing because you are not letting the players actually be the characters. You're just having them as vehicles for the story you want to tell. Now, granted, a little direction here and there is definitely necessary when things go off the rails, but having it that trying to force everything to go in going one specific direction is not the way to do it. It is not respecting your players, and Spoonie does this a lot.
Yeah. Let me actually give you guys an example of how this guy over here helped guide us in the right direction without railroading us. Because I actually remember one particular moment that always stuck out with me was when we met. Oh fuck! I've forgotten all our character names, all of our NPC names, all of a sudden.
We met the brother.
We met what's her name's brother.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Cesario.
Cesario. Oh yeah, the guy who's not the brother of the person who's now Mrs. Kelby.
Yeah. Yeah. We met when she was still Cesario. We met her brother. We came across her brother, and this one dropped the hint that they were going to be meeting up later. That they were going to be meeting up for a dinner later. Without giving me any verbal direction at all, I was able to catch on that, hey, we're trying to track this girl down. And her brother, we have now found her brother who's going to be meeting with her. I wonder if I should call my superior and say, hey, we've got a lead.
Especially since I've made clear up to that point that nobody was able to track down Cesario.
Yeah. So remembering all that, I quickly nudged over. Hey, I was like, hey, Mildred, I'm gonna sneak off over here and I'm gonna call Kiritani and tell him we've got a lead that you might want to follow. And what happens by the end of that episode?
I told you to make her uncomfortable, not to break her freaking brain.
Yeah. Despite all of my SBOD shots to the back of my head, my brain does still work, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. This next question is, what can we expect to see in the future? One thing that I'm very much going to strive for, and this is something that I also strive for in the videos on my own channel, which after about a year, I'm finally at a position where I can make videos again, because midway through trying to create the world of Rider the Transformation, my old computer fucked up. And it was thanks to some donations from some very, very kind people who know who they are, and some help from some people who refused to give up on me, that I was able to build this computer that I'm using right now, which is a goddamn beast.
I am jealous, my friend. I am jealous.
Yeah, it took me a long ass time, but I was able to put it together. But one thing that I want to do is I want to show what the goal when I started doing videos was. I wanted to show what else was out there. I already technically broke one of my main rules when I reviewed D&D 5th edition, which is one of the few games that is not going to be on an episode of TRPG presented by RVT. But everybody always has this vicious cycle with D&D or Pathfinder. And there's so much else out there that I wanted to show what's there.
Yeah.
So what you can expect is that there's going to be some of the games you may be familiar with, but a lot of the games you will not be. Because I want to show what else is out there with the wide, vast array of knowledge that I have on this matter. I don't want to stick to the D&D trap. And consequently, even though Tokusatsu is what brings us all to the dance, I don't want to stick to just that either. The sole reason we're going with Numenera is because the most votes that I got for when it came to genre was some form of sci-fi fantasy, and I thought doing Numenera would be a nice spin on that. But but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Don't worry.
Now the next question was, what was it like back when you were first with the RVT crew? If I want to be really technical, when I was first with the RVT crew, I was just some guy who posted shit.
Yeah, this guy was posting in our old community section way back in the day. And I even remember seeing you in there quite a few times. Like, I would pop into the community section, look around to see what's going on, and I know I saw your name at least several times.
Yeah, near the end, I posted a shit ton of my old videos. and I probably also gained a bit of infamy for that guy who completely blew his shit when somebody brought up K-On!, which was at my most hated at that point in time. And to the point where it kind of became a running gag between me and Mike Maverick about how anytime someone would bring up K-On!, I'd go berserk. Because believe me, at that, I've after its second season, I kind of mellowed out, but there was a time when I despised it. Like, at the level that you hate Ed, and Eddie, Shades. That's how much I hated it.
Well, I can understand that to some extent. K-On! Is a very... It is as moe of an anime as you can possibly get, ladies and gentlemen. There's a reason why we have not added it to the Rising Sun lineup, and we'll never will.
Well, to be fair, the sole reason that I hated it is because it was sold to me as a musical anime. And I immediately said, every single one of you who sold it to as a musical anime, please punch yourselves in the face and go watch either Beck or Detroit Metal City.
Yeah. K-On! Looks like a musical-based anime. It is not. It is a moe anime. It is just basically the girls act like they want to be part of a band or a music club or whatever you want to call it. But trust me, folks, it's just them. Actually, Giguk from the Anime Zone said it best. Motherfucking T! That's...
Yeah, pretty much.
You want to know what that show is like?
Short.
Go watch that episode. You will learn everything you need to know.
But
Actually,
the short of it is that
you lie. That's you lie.
well, okay. If you want to be technical, we can order each other by height. But when it came to starting out, because Biohybrid was the one who first pitched the idea to me, and I was completely surprised that any of you even remembered me. Because while I post a few things here and there, I was pretty much off on my own by that point. And while I had a few conversations with Bio on Skype here and there, I wasn't exactly close. So I decided to do it. Then things just kind of escalated from there, and now it's got to the point where I'm pretty much a member of the team.
Yeah. Now, to give the full chronology of how this TRPG came together, many of you know I've been wanting to do a Sentai or Kamen Rider TRPG for a long time now. In fact, I think it was 2 years ago I was dropping the idea of doing this. And the only problem is that none of us, up until we had Mildred, there was nobody in our group that could fucking DM it. None of us play TRPGs that much. None of us could be a good DM. It would have been shit if... Imagine me trying to DM this thing. I would have been shit. I would have been a shit DM. So I was like, no, we need somebody who knows what they're doing. And I had posted on several common Koku-based Facebook groups and Reddits trying to see if I could find anybody. And I had come close a couple times. I actually was in talks with somebody to do a Sentai RPG. Unfortunately, she kind of backed out at the last minute, or she just kind of stopped talking. We never really got anywhere with it. So inevitably that fell through. And then Bio came to me and was like, hey, Nick, I think I know somebody who might be able to help. And of course, he got in contact with Mildred, and he's already explained where that part came in. So, and when he told me that Mildred was a guru when it comes to TRPGs, I'm like, so we've got someone with experience. Okay, this might help. Little did I realize how much of an expert this son of a bitch was. Folks,
Yes.
you've already heard him tonight. This guy can talk your ear off. And in fact, I've had to tell him several times to calm down because he is talking about a whole bunch of stuff I've never even heard of before, and it just goes right over my head. And he still does it today. You've already done it several times tonight. We are not as well versed in TRPGs as you are, my friend.
Yeah.
You talk more than Kevin.
You're slowly learning, though.
You're slowly.
You talk more than Kevin Smith on a talk show.
Okay. By the way, Bay actually had a question for all of us here. What's the worst TV show that you've ever watched?
Worst television show I've ever watched? Ooh.
See, most of my fans already know this question. I've got two. I've got one that's just a regular cartoon show and one that's an anime. My most hated TV cartoon of all time is without a doubt, and I know a lot of you disagree with me on this, and I'm sure I'll be plenty more that do. SpongeBob. I cannot stand that yellow fucking square. I've explained why in the past, but to sum it up basically, I don't mind a show that you can shut your brain off and have a mindless fun, but I hate a show that will insult your intelligence, and that is what SpongeBob does. The same goes for my most hated anime of all time, an anime called Bo-Bo-Bo-Bo-Bo-Bo-Bo. If you've heard of it, you understand why I hate it. If you have not, count your blessings. I will not torture you like that.
I remember when Bo-Bo-Bo was first introduced to me, and I said, "This is a poor man's Excel saga."
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you know what? Having gotten some critical experience under my belt since I first said that, I realized I was being too nice.
Yeah.
I get what Bo-Bo-Bo is trying to do, but the problem is that it tries to go so. It's trying to do both of that and Python-esque. You want a good example? You want to know what's a good example of parodying shonen? Gintama.
Yes, agreed. Also, Bay, I'm sorry, get out! Get out! No! No!
I guessed.
I'm sorry, Mildra, but no! No!
What I do?
Okay. Now, as far as mine, I could very well be a smartass and say the Big Bang Theory. as far as the worst TV show that I've watched, but I think when it comes to it, I'm probably going to have to say 12-ounce mouse, or I'd say actually nope. I've got it. The worst that I've seen. And this is coming from someone who saw a little bit of enjoyment in the original before I knew all the backstage drama. Okay, strike number one. It was on Spike TV.
Ooh.
Strike number two. It was made by John Cristofalusi.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Ren and Stimpy adult party cartoon.
Ooh. I remember watching that.
Yeah, my childhood never quite survived watching an episode of that.
Oh.
Yeah, that one was, and the first episode that I saw was Ren Seeks Help. The only thing that has ever damaged me more than that was reading through Fatal, aka the worst RPG of all time.
Trust me, he's gone for hours talking about that game.
It is impossible for me to summarize how bad it is, but I will simply point one single. If you want to know the full details, go up on RPGNet and look up a review by Jason Sarton and Darren McLennan. And be warned, it is a long review, but they go through all of the bad points. But I will say this: the core book, the book that's supposed to have everything you need to start the game, is 900 fucking pages long.
It's a freaking Bible.
Yep. Now, Biohybrid, as far as your question about those who go chaotic evil, doesn't like those who go chaotic evil, I'm not sure what his argument is about it, but I personally feel that having evil characters in the same, unless you're doing a specifically evil campaign, carbonation. It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I'm not a big fan of the 9 alignment system, period, because it's used in a way it was never meant for. And chaotic evil and chaotic neutral are both had the same problem of people just doing it to be random. So whenever anytime that I've had to run the D20 system, I always say, okay, you know what? Fuck the 9 alignment system. We're going with the alignment set up for Fantasycraft instead, where you're aligned to various factions or deities or the like, not to this arbitrary thing. The only game that's been able to use the 9 alignment system properly is the Shin Megami Tensei games, the core ones, not Persona or Devil Summoner, and that's because they only use law and chaos, which represents two completely separate ideologies and two completely separate cults, the Gaia cult and the Messiah cult. And in every single one of the games, the best ending is and also the hardest ending to get, and this is saying something because those games are already pretty damn hard, is the neutral ending, which is supposed to represent taking an equal balance of both sides and not going to an extreme.
Anyway, so as far as my worst TV show,
yeah, we kind of left these two out.
Yeah. What about me? What about me,
Matty?
Oh, worst TV show. In my childhood, I have watched a lot of television. I remember going home and watching an episode of something that nothing's obscure on the internet, and I've yet to have found stuff like PBS stuff. Oh, the worst television show I've ever watched. I'm still racking my brain. Yeah. I think the fairest answer I could give you right now is the worst wrestling show I've ever watched. And no, it's not ECW on Sci-Fi. And yes, I have reviewed it back in the old blip days. But no, I'm pretty sure if many a wrestling fan have heard of the promotion known as Extreme Pro Wrestling, aka XPW.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, they were allowed to live longer than they should have, thanks to a television show called XPW TV.
Yeah. By the way,
I remember watching Baptized in Blood, and I was at a point where I'm like, I'll watch that, and I watched the VHS, and it's the one where you have the infamous Shane Douglas shoot promo on Hulk Hogan. The one that made me fall in love with Shane Douglas as a promo guy. Admittedly. Folks, XPW Baptized in Blood is a guilty pleasure because the action is hardcore gore at its finest. But one thing I cannot stand is the color commentary guy. And this might be racism, and I apologize ahead, but folks, if your native language isn't English, it's going to sound like it. Whoever they got to do color commentary has this most gratingly bad Spanish, Mexican accent I've ever heard in my life. What? I know it's a California-based promotion. I get that. But fuck's sake, I could not stand, and I still cannot stand. I don't understand how I was able to stand it back then in my youth. I watch it now, and I'm like,
because hindsight's a motherfucker.
Yeah. By the way, Matty, I wanted to bring up, since I just saw this, did you hear what Netflix is bringing back with a new 10-episode series?
Netflix.
What are they bringing back?
Glow.
Nice.
Glow is coming back.
Oh,
10 episodes
I've
on
heard
Netflix.
I've heard that. Yeah, 10 episodes on Netflix. They actually For the longest time, the Glow documentary was on Netflix, and that's a great documentary.
Yep.
It's not only just a good move, it's also a good dry run to see whether or not pro wrestling can work on Netflix.
Yeah, at one time when I joined, they still had a few WWE documentaries / DVDs on there, and that was just a tad before the network started happening. So,
all right,
it can work.
Yep.
I think
you better not be teasing me about that.
Glow stands for Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. It is a mix of women's wrestling with sketch comedy.
And it is 80s cheese at its greatest, my
But they're going to be bringing back a new series of it. So it's going to be 2016 cheese.
And
but to finish
I
my
was
thought,
lucky enough to grow up during that era.
Oh yeah,
Bio, don't do that again.
But as far as my worst TV show, I'm surprised none of you have brought it up. But it's a little thing called Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills.
I was trying to forget about that. I haven't watched it. That's why I don't consider it my worst, because I have avoided that like the plague. The only thing I know about it is what my buddy TJ Omega said about it.
But to finish my thought, XPW did a thing called XPW TV. It was supposed to be a weekly wrestling show, but funny thing happened. They couldn't get wrestling stuff. Couldn't get venues. They were not allowed to promote anywhere in California for a little while. So it turned into sketch comedy. I have 2 seasons worth on DVD in my closet back there because I don't have enough room for it, on the shelf here. I watched 1 disc, 2 minutes. I took it out, and it's right back there buried, and I want to keep it there for the rest of my life. What the fuck was 1 episode, folks? Is all you need to know. Is oh my god,
man.
That might be good. That might be good for a Let's Endure stream down the line, but we'll see.
Oh no. No,
anyway, to answer your question, Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills. It is a Power Rangers ripoff, and ripoff is the best way to describe it because, oh, good God. The budget is so low, it makes us look rich by comparison. The acting was terrible. The effects are just god-awful. And just those costumes. God, those costumes.
The Knight.
Oh God, yeah, the Knight. They're instead of a Megazord, instead of a combined mech that they used to fight the mad guys, they combined it into this cheap ass looking Knight. Yes,
folks.
It is worse. Undoubtedly worse.
You remember watching Power Rangers as a kid, and you watch it and now, wow, they didn't have much of a budget, did they? Cut that budget into a quarter of it, ish.
We're talking Z-grade movie levels of bad here.
Oh yeah.
But
if the Asylum existed in the 80s, had $2 and a ham sandwich,
actually no, I can't even use that because there was an Asylum back in the 80s. It was called New World Pictures.
That's true. That's true.
And even they didn't have a budget this cheap, and it was run by the king of cheapness, Roger Corman.
That's true. That is true.
Yep.
There's one question that looks like Red Bob had one question that we didn't get to. Says, what was the hardest part you're learning because you treated your textbook as a Bible? As far, I think it's more of just learning how to do this digitally, because the majority of my experience as a GM is either through play-by-post or IRL stuff at an actual table. So doing it via Skype or something like that is a relatively new thing for me.
Yeah.
But I have caught on very quickly. There's also I'd say the real hard part is just being being a DM it's a very rewarding thing, but it's also a lot of work because I am effectively the referee, and unfortunately, I do not have the striped shirt or the bow tie because Mike's got the bow tie.
Because bow ties are cool.
But I don't have. But I have to be that, and I have to be the director because the setting, the NPCs, the encounters, all that, I create all that myself. Creating the characters, I guide everybody through that. I'd say about 75% of the work when it comes to building the campaign is all done by me. Sometimes a little bit less if I'm doing something that I'm not using my own campaign. ID Harold. But I do love doing it because, as I've mentioned many times over the years, I love the act of storytelling. Supernova's got one more question. He says, "What is it like having fan stories made about your campaigns?"
I was wondering if someone was going to ask about that.
Now, Shades, you actually told me about this the first time when we were doing one of the Toonami calls.
Yeah. Supernova, like, it started in the chat room where a lot of you guys were telling your own story in there. And I know a couple of you brought it up earlier tonight, that you guys were telling your own story based on our universe, which was already fascinating to me. And then I get an email from Supernova who tells me, who shares with me a full-blown fan fiction that he's been writing in our universe. And he's still sending me stuff on this. I've gotten like a last email from like a few days ago with one more that he sent.
Yeah, it's been ongoing.
Yeah, he sent me the last part of it on the 23rd. He sent me one more. He's been sending a whole shit ton of these emails. I'm like, good God, man.
Have you no life?
And after reading him, I'm like, dude, post these somewhere. People need to see this. And he said no. He said he wouldn't do it. I'm like, no, dude, you need to post these.
Yeah.
I'm almost going to say, if you won't, I will. Someone needs to see these.
I'll say it's great advertising for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. But when you told me, the first thing I did was bust out laughing because this was something just completely unexpected because I'm focused so much on the notes that I have on screen, I don't get a chance to look at the comments very often. So when I found out about that, and then I started seeing the whole thing, I realized it started to set in, and it was just although I say I was laughing my ass off, I wasn't laughing at it. I was laughing at the mere idea that's something I helped create when it comes to the setting, because I need to make this clear. The setting, that was all me. And the fact that people are doing that, the fact that people are taking that and being inspired was a kind of validation for me. Because my big thing is with storytelling, and this is why there are certain people. This is why I always hate people who disrespect storytelling. Is that I firmly believe that storytelling is this constant flow that keeps going. Somebody creates a story, other people are inspired. They create their own stories in one way or another, or they create something that kind of celebrates that story. This is true whether you're talking about cultural festivals at a village 500 years ago, or a modern geek convention like, say, MetroCon, in 2016.
There's your plug. There's your plug, by the way.
Plug.
Yep, cheap pop. But so seeing that was very much a kind of validation for me. Oh, and Supernova also said in the fan chat, congrats on 500 subs, Shades.
Oh, holy shit! I even crossed the fucking border. I didn't even realize it. Holy crap!
Yay!
Well, I can't channel my inner Foley. I don't have enough of a beard. Also, if I grow this out, it's gonna turn into a fro. I cannot do the poofy head. So So if I was to grow out the beard and keep the hair like this, I would end up looking like 2000 Foley. You really want that? Yeah. Now then, Jonathan's birthday is going to be on September 29th.
Just remind us when we get there, my friend.
Yep.
Duly noted.
Yep. What actors do you want to play as your character? I never really thought about that.
Yeah, I don't know if we really could think of anybody who could play our characters as good as we did ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something that I never really think about. Now, granted, maybe down the line I will put up publicly the driver sketches that I made with my terrible artistry. Because I drew these half-assed sketches about what I wanted, about what my based on everybody's description, what I wanted the belts to look like for everybody. Especially since we had much, and the thing I find absolutely funny is that with a lot of the stuff, the writer series that I was channeling the most was the one that's one of my least favorites, Agito. I find that kind of funny, and it's very. Raising, boom,
whoa!
But although the sketches were very bad, and I had to explain to Shades about a dozen times. I had not, when I showed him his design, because of how much it looked. I have not seen Ghost. I have not seen a single episode of Ghost. So the fact that his belt design looks so much like Ghost is purely coincidental.
Like really coincidental, like 1 in a million.
Yep. Now, Sandman asked, "Do you have any issues with the show Critical Role?" Not really, unless it's the one I'm thinking of. I know that there's one show that Will Wheaton does, and the sole reason that I'm not a fan of that one is because Will Wheaton is a very, very bad host. I've noticed, because when I watch him play board games and the like, and I knew about this because I'd have people ask me, because I'd have this kind of Oprah effect where he would be asked about, where he would do a board game on his videos, and then people would ask me about it. Settlers of Catan was one of the more infamous ones. It's apparently I'm not the only one who has this thing. It's called the Whedon effect. Kind of like how when Oprah reviews a book, then everybody starts talking about that book or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But the big problem that I have is that when he hosts his show, he treats it like a fucking coffee table. Like people are playing the game like you'd see at Table for Three or some shit.
Oh jeez.
It's so tame. It's so boring. Where's the shouting? Where's the arguing about rules? Where's the cheering when somebody rolls the right dice?
That's why I love episodes like The Resistance. It's nothing but screaming and scheming.
Yeah, where's the laughing when somebody rolls the wrong dice?
Oh, you mean like what Mike does all the time?
To be fair, he has worse dice than I do.
That's saying something.
Hey, at least you sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some of the other stuff that Will Wheaton has said that doesn't make me a fan of him. But for the purposes of this, I'm focusing just on how he presents himself on his own work. I will take a look at Terrible Warriors by Hybrid. Thank you for noting that.
Yeah, but the question was more about Critical Role. Like, what's your overall opinion on Critical Role?
It's really just it just doesn't grab my attention. Geek and Sundry has grabbed my attention off and on, and I think part of the reason is because they have proper voice actors working on it. Liam O'Brien being one of them, who's always been one of the guys in my boy stable. Apparently, a lot of people
explain the OSW boys system again.
But yeah, and they also have like some more voice actors that I'm well aware of, like Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham, who we got to meet at, who my wife got to interview at MetroCon last year.
Now that said, the apex when it comes to using tabletop gaming in a visual sense is always going to be the stuff that Dead Gentleman does generally, and the gamers specifically. Darkness Rising was their second film, and that has basically become my Monty Python the Holy Grail as far as being one of the most quoted films ever. Jonathan, I do not think Kamen Rider Forze is the worst. As far as the Heisei era, I have to go with Agito because of its pacing problems. Like it just moves way too slow for its own good. And yes, I realized the irony when I was taking a lot of notes from Agito when it came to design ideas, but the thing is with me is that you've got to do something special to get on my hate meter. Like, just being bad isn't really enough. Which is, I think it's because after a while, just being mediocre is not enough to really get on the list. You've got to do something special. But with that said, and for the record, that's the reason why I only really blast a bad RPG unless I've got a specific reason to. The reason why I hated 5th edition so much is because of the fact that it did not deliver on what it was promising me for 2 years. Like, it promised me a uniting of the editions, and that's not what I got. What I got was them being nostalgia whores and running away with their tail between their legs at anything not classically styled. And I was a part of the open beta when it came to the game. So I saw everything. Kiva and Wizard. Wizard, I will admit I haven't finished, so I can't really comment on that one. Kiva, it's got its problems to be sure, but I have a soft spot for it because it really helped me contextualize a RPG that I was working with at the time called Fireborn, which deals with storytelling in 2 different eras, sometimes going back and forth. So seeing Kiva definitely helped me with that. Plus, I'm a bit of a sucker for that sort of old school Gothic. Decade,
they got vampires right.
Yeah. As far as Decade goes, I know a lot of people don't like it. I hated it at first, but as time went on, I started to kind of dial back on it because I would rather have an engaging mess than a not engaging mess. And
anyway, Mildred, I think we're derailing over here.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, we went off the rails a long ass time ago.
Yeah. And I'm just now finding a reason. We got to get it back in because we've still got a little. I don't know. Do we have anything else to talk about as far as Bride of the Transformation goes? Like, is there any other big things we need to bring up?
Out of curiosity, I'd like to know one thing that you guys have learned about doing tabletop in hindsight after doing 20 episodes of Bride of the Transformation and all of the stuff building up to it.
Ooh. That's a good question. So I know we learned a bit.
I would say, as far as I'm concerned, and this is probably going to be a case of I will learn as I play more games and more anything else. As far as keeping track of stuff, the simpler the better, and that's for me. Which
I
hopefully will be the case.
That did play into a factor as far as what we were going to be picking for the next one.
Yeah.
Mike, you got anything?
Just being more out there, just character development. Like I said, it's been. I know I was kind of stiff beginning the whole campaign, and I think I was. And I've learned a few things during the whole thing. Some things I'm not allowed to do anymore.
For the record, as a bit of explanation, I shamelessly got the inspiration from a post called "Things Skippy the Dwarf has learned he can't do," which is, even if you're not familiar with RPGs, it is absolutely hilarious.
I've actually read that myself, and yeah, it is a trip.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a trip. But as for myself, I've kind of learned that in order to really get the most out of this, you have to invest yourself in it and really get into it, which is not easy to do when you're first starting out. Let me tell you, you really gotta jump in. The other thing is be willing to step outside the box a little bit, because some of our best moves happen when I looked through my movie and I'm like, normally I would never do that, but let's see what happens if I tried this. And that was when some of the most awesome moves occurred. You got to have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that I roll very. When it comes to D10s, I've learned I've rolled well, and I'll be honest. I only cheated one time.
Yep.
One time, and I'll admit it right now. One of the earlier botches I got, I think it was like 3 zeros and everything else. No, it was all ones. Sorry, I forgot. Zeros are doubles.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I said I had 1-1. I had 3 1s. That's it. But even then, I knew I was fucked in the first play. I'm like, you know what? Does it really matter at that point? I know I'm fucked there. I'm like, let's, but that's the only time that I remember.
Mm-hmm. To answer Ben Martin's question about whether or not I like Pokemon, I do, but I don't follow it as closely. I have no plans on getting Sun and Moon. I have no, because he didn't stop the fight right in the middle of things because he got hit. But I've played my fair share. I've enjoyed how it actually managed to get me to like something with a Vancian model. I have played a few tabletop adaptations, the best one being Pokemon Tabletop United, but that's for another time. Now let's get to the meat. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. Now, so when it came to these genre suggestions, and I did notice a handful that were given in the chat earlier, to which I say, why didn't you guys tell me that beforehand? I could have put those into consideration. I mean, you could have contacted Shades. You could have contacted me. I specifically asked Shades to give some of my contact info when it came to that. So if people had questions, if people had suggestions, they could ask. And I've already done that rant. I'm not going to do that twice. But I could have taken like the one that I got the most was sci-fi fantasy. Supernova had put in the suggestion of doing something akin to Xenoblade Chronicles, but I decided I was going to do a bit of a unique spin because I wanted to do the sci-fi fantasy thing. Yes, I wanted to do something that was not exactly going to be predicted, because I'm pretty sure when a lot of people think sci-fi fantasy, they think Star Wars, and I'm not going to do that. That's too easy, and I'm afraid that I might get into massive arguments with everybody wanting to be a Jedi.
He's probably not wrong.
He's not wrong, folks. He ain't wrong.
And I'm not talking about arguments against me. I'm talking about arguments against the three of you about who's going to be the Jedi.
Why do I get to be the Jar Jar?
Because you roll wrong. That's why. And if someone's gonna roll that bad, it may as well be Jar Jar, because at least we have some entertainment out of Jar Jar dying.
Because I don't want you to try and do a Jamaican accent for 2 hours. That's why.
Now that's understand though.
Oh, don't you?
I will save you in cold blood if you keep going.
Also, Hairball brings him another way. Because you like total divas, Mike.
Thank you, Hairball. Thank you. Thank you.
But so here's LPH, no. So here's what I had to consider. I wanted to do a game that did not have an XP spending system like Ryder did. I wanted to do something that was simpler and had some and had a more streamlined approach to die rolling. I wanted to do science. I wanted to do science fantasy, and I wanted to do something that was both familiar and unfamiliar. And so, pouring through all of that, Numenera was what I picked. Now, I didn't watch all of the live chat that you guys had last week. I did watch some of it. So I know that you tried to explain Numenera, and I do give you credit for trying, Shades, because this is a very unique kind of game.
Yeah.
Sorry, with apologies to Mr. OOC.
Yeah. You agree with most of that.
That's also why I put in the caveat. We're going to have Mildred explain it better next week because I could not if I tried. Here's the bare minimum I can give you. If you want to know more, tune in next week. Mildred will explain it better than I ever could.
Okay. First thing I need to note is that, as you did point out, Shades, Numenera is one of many games that have been able to get out there through Kickstarter. Because Kickstarter actually has a fairly good success rate when it comes to tabletop games. And there's a lot of really neat ideas, too. A good handful of the games that I currently run have gotten their start through it. But Numenera is the spiritual successor to Monty Cook's Planescape setting, which some of you may be familiar with through Planescape Torment, the game. Great game, by the way. I can't play it because it uses some AD&D motifs that I'm not going back to. Numenera equals Illuminati LPH? No. The Illuminati.
Why don't you let the man explain before you start throwing out shit?
Now, Numenera is very much taking Clarke's third law to its furthest extreme, i.e., any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. The game takes place on planet Earth 1 billion years in the future.
That's with a B.
Yep. In the year 1 billion.
In the year 1 billion. Oh, hold on, we gotta do it again. In the year 1 billion.
But the thing is, every bit of technology that can be assumed to be magical has a technological origin, because this period there have been 8 previous eras that are referred to as worlds, with Numenera being set in the 9th. In fact, the planet is literally called the 9th world, and a lot of the technology is repurposed from those old eras. In some cases, it's nanomachines. In other cases, it's terraforming. In other cases, it's biological manipulation. It's speculated that one of the previous eras, the planet known in modern times as Earth, was just one part of an interstellar galactic empire. But all that stuff is kind of long past. And every one of those eras produced their own little bits of technology that they added. And those technologies are referred to as the Numenera. I would like to nanomachines. Yes, I will get to that in a minute. But I will describe a excerpt that's written on the back of the book. There have been 8 previous worlds. Each world stretched across vast millennia of time. Each played host to a race whose civilizations rose to supremacy but eventually died or scattered, disappeared or transcended. During that time, each world flourished. Those who ruled it spoke to the stars, re-engineered their physical bodies, and mastered form and essence, all in their own unique ways. Each left behind remnants. People of the New World, the 9th world, sometimes call these remnants magic. And who are we to say that they're wrong? But most give the unique name to the legacies of the nigh and imaginal past. They call them Numenera. Now, there's two big advantages when it comes to this game. One, I'm not rolling any dice. Shades, Matty, and Mike are the only ones going to be rolling dice. 2, you're only going to be rolling one die type for 95% of the game, and that is the D20. And thanks to Roll20, you can see it. Now, the other thing that's unique about this game is the way it does the character class, because it doesn't have the race class thing like you might see normally. Now, Shays, did you go into this last week?
The classes? No, not entirely.
The class is described in a sentence, which contains their type, which is the closest thing to a class. It's basically whether you're a warrior, mage, or rogue. And mage, and you may ask, how can you have magic in such a technology-based thing? Mages, in this case called nanos, aren't utilizing magic specifically, but utilizing the nanomachines in the air. Because, as I mentioned, one of the previous ways that it was done, that the world was messed with in those previous eras, was terraforming, and one of it was through nanomachines. And they're all throughout the atmosphere if you know how to use them. Now, the three types are nano, like I mentioned. There's jacks, which are the jack of all trades and basically the rogues. And finally, there's glides, who are the fighters. They're the weapons experts. They're the guys who know how to take a beating. You have the descriptor, which is basically a defining character trait, and then you have the focus. This is described in the character sheet as, my character is an adjective, noun, who verbs, describing the descriptor, type, and focus in that order. Now, Shades, now for the three of you, would you like to go into how you use that sentence for your characters? I'll start with you, Shades.
Yes. To put it simply, I am a strong glaive who never says die.
Yep. And I will attempt to put up the image, and unfortunately I can't. Let's see.
Actually, they could see the image there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can show them the image from your end, but your character named Vald is basically going to be our tank, and because of that, you gave him the heavy weapons, and the fact that he's able to take a beating and keep on kicking.
Yep.
Now, Matty, would you
Yes?
like to give the description for Jax Rosad, your character?
Alert a nano who rides the lightning.
Yep. He is a nano, so he has those abilities for him. Mm-hmm. He's going to be the one who knows the most about the Numenera, and is going to be the one who can hold the most Numenera at any given time. The single use ones that are going to be used the most are referred to as ciphers, which have their own unique quirks, but they're single shots. You're going to be gaining and losing them a lot, and the fun part is that I am not setting which ones you get. Anytime you find a Numenera, it is going to be treated as unidentified. I would either have Matty make an intellect roll to see if he can identify it, and have its level already determined from that, or we would take it back to a shop and get it appraised. When that is done, I would roll essentially a D100, and you would get a number, and that number I would reference on my tables, in this case a 93, and that would determine what the cipher would be. This also applies to artifacts, which are rarer, but they're both more powerful than ciphers, and they're a lot more reliable. He also has a bag of batteries that he keeps along with him.
Because I loves me some batteries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm essentially, the way I describe it, and you'll probably get that feeling, is I'm kind of like the Energizer Bunny. I keep going and going and going and going and going.
Yep. Now, Mike, would you like to describe yours in that sentence?
Yes, for my character, Varric Rideth. I am a charming Jack who wields two weapons.
Yep. Which means we have two melee. Which means a lot of our stuff is going to be melee based. Matty and Mike have a little bit of range capacity, but that's not where they're at their best. You are essentially wielding two rapiers, and I will note that I am considering putting in the optional rule as far as weapon distinctions. So you'd have to be very specific about whether or not you're doing. Oh, bye, ball. Whether you're doing a stabbing, a cutting, or an impact attack. And normally this would be one weapon, one per type, but I'm going to be a little looser with this. Like, impact might just be hitting something with the broad end of the sword, or rather the flat end. But the Jack is basically the wild card of this group. He can't hit as hard as Shades, but he can hit more frequently. And a lot of the adventures that we're going to be using are going to be preset adventures with a few things filling in. But the thing that I really need to hammer home about Numenera is that its setting is weird. It is very much weird fantasy, and that applies to not only your equipment and abilities, but also the way you use your abilities. Like now, Shades, you learned yours from training. Matty, yours is because you kept plugging in cybernetics into yourself. And Mike is just that damn good. But a popular example for me when it comes to one of the monster examples is, show of hands, who here has seen Joe's apartment?
Oh.
So you're familiar with the roaches?
Yes.
Imagine all of those roaches constructing into combining to create a kind of humanoid appearance, and killing by effectively going in someone's mouth, as in all of them going in someone's mouth. Because I'm not only randomizing the treasures that you might get, I'm also randomizing some of the encounters. Especially when it comes to exploring. Oh, never heard? It's a good movie, but I can't really watch it because every time I see large amounts of insects crawling around, I get creeped the fuck out.
Let's say Creepshow must not have been one of your favorites then.
No. Another example of the weird when it comes to this is the Dark Fathom, which is basically a mechanical automaton with a black hole in its chest. Although the book does imply that the black hole might be its chest. But yeah, you have bizarre creatures that of both mechanical and biological form. Because the thing that, and this is the reason why I've had to bump up my ability to describe, because the thing about Numenera is the fact that you have a lot of repurposed old technology. The example that I used when describing the world to them is that what might be an electricity grenade for you could have been a power source for some sort of ancient device that nobody knows how to use. But you're essentially taking something in these places and repurposing them. But it is dangerous work because some of the securities for these places is still active. Plus, when going out into the wilds outside of the cities, and sometimes in the cities, you have to deal with things that might creep the fuck out of you. Let me see if I can find another example of a creature. I can't speak on that because I haven't seen anything from Gravity Falls. I mean, it's certainly a possibility, but I haven't seen anything out of that series. The other thing to note is that aliens they're not exactly the most common thing, but they're not exactly alien invaders or anything like that. There are various aliens called visitants that have essentially been on Earth for generations already. And it was through. So if you want to get really technical, I'm doing more weird fantasy than I am sci-fi fantasy, but I think I'm still within the boundaries. Now, the great thing about Roll20 that we discovered is that, well, for starters, the game saves the character sheets, and also you can make specific integrated rolls. Now, for example, let's say that we're having the party climb up a sheer cliff, and Vald, being the strong one, is taking point. So let's say that it is difficulty 5. Now, in other games, this would be a contested roll, but all he has to do is just roll at least a 15 total, plus or minus any modifiers, like if he wants to apply effort, because this isn't a game with set stats. You instead have pools of the 3 main stats of might, speed, and intellect. So, for this roll, first thing we have to ask Shades, are you going to apply any effort to this?
In this case, I probably would. Yeah, in this case, I'd probably put at least 1 effort into it.
All right. Since that's might, you would reduce your might pool from 18 to 16 because you have an edge of 1, meaning you spend 1 point less on every expenditure of might. And also, and let's say that at the start this is a difficulty. The difficulty level is 5. But because you are trained in climbing, that reduces the difficulty by 1, and then another because you're applying effort. So you see on your character sheet where it says the whole action part.
Yep.
Fill all that in, and then of course, click the green button for might, and you'll do the roll.
Okay, so difficulty 3, effort 1.
Actually, what you're gonna be doing is it's difficulty 5. On the skill part, click the T. Put effort 1.
Okay.
And then click on might. Let's see, and you rolled a 13, which means you succeeded. You had to get at least a 9 in order to succeed at this roll.
Yeah. Now, for those of you watching the stream, unfortunately, I've had an issue here where in order to get the stream to actually the screen to show up, I had to disable a certain thing, and now because of that, I can't use the 3D dice that's supposed to show up.
Which, strange, for whatever reason, I can still see it on my end. It's probably because I'm not
it's just on my screen it doesn't show up. So and that means whenever you guys rolled earlier, I didn't see the 3D dice either. There's supposed to be like little 3D dice that come up on the screen, but fortunately, I don't get those right now. I'll make sure that's fixed by the time we get to the main game.
Yeah. But the point is that the fact that the difficulty that you have to roll is essentially the level times 3. The max level is 10. The max level is 10, and obviously trying to do level 10 would require a lot of effort and maybe some training and assets. The other thing to note is that you don't have to do the whole, in this game we don't have to do the whole attribute plus skill thing. If you're trained in a skill, and the skills are not set, as in there's not a set list of skills to pick from, if you're trained, it reduces the difficulty by 1. If you're specialized, it reduces it by 2. You can only benefit from one skill for a roll, so you can't stack it because that would just make things ridiculous. And even initiative is not rolled by me. Initiative is already set by because the creatures, while they will do their movements and attacks, I will not be rolling. When they attack, they have a set difficulty and they have to roll over it. So use an example. Let's go with an Anin, which are essentially bipedal pack animals. They tend to roam plains and deserts and are used for labor. They're basically this game's equivalent to large goats. But let's say that it decides to do an attack. Now its level is 3, so you would have, and because of how quick it kicks, let's say that for the purposes of this, it wants to attack Mike. So Mike, you would have to roll a speed roll at a difficulty of 3.
3. Nothing else is checked. No effort. I'll just roll.
And you got an 8.
Still a success, though.
Wait a minute. You put in. Oh yeah, that's right. You put in you put in the asset because it's a speed defense.
Yep.
Which means that it helped a bit. So you were able to roll an 8. This game does have crits and fumbles. If you get a 17 or higher, it's considered a minor effect. Will either be the minor effect based on your focus, or you just do +3 damage. It is worth noting that you can also use effort to give yourself an extra 3 damage, but you can only apply this before you roll, not after. Now, with that roll, you also have the fact that rolling a natural 20 gives you a major effect, which is basically a stronger one. Whereas rolling a natural 1 isn't an automatic failure, but it is a failure along with what's called a GM intrusion. Now, normally, I can do these intrusions at any time I want. I would just have to give one player 2 experience when it comes to doing that, which is basically halfway towards an advancement. If you roll a 1, I can do that intrusion for free. What it basically does is just a little. It throws a little monkey wrench in to make your life ever so slightly harder. Night, LPH.
Night, dude.
Yep.
And of course, you can't. The important thing to note is that you can't blow your entire pool on one roll, because those 3 pools, might, speed, and intellect, are your function as your HP as well. When one of them goes down, everything gets a lot harder. And I do apologize for going this level of long-winded. It's just a way of giving everybody else a taste of how things are going to work on this thing. Now, the other beauty when it comes, as I think you described, when it comes to Roll20, is the fact that we have a board. So I will demonstrate by putting Vald here. I will put Jax over here. And I will put Varric here. Sorry, move that there. And let's go with an Anin and a Marg, who are right next to each other because pack animal. Now, if I want to show where I want the players to focus attention to, as in that thing might attack, I just have to ping the thing. If I can do that. And unfortunately, I seem to have forgotten how to ping.
Whoops.
Yeah, this is embarrassing. The point is that when I
minor film break. Well, that happens all the time. I'll be back taking over by 6:30. But
reality is okay.
All right, have a good night, I guess, Jonathan.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to be wrapping this up pretty soon. Everyone's splitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Hang on a second. Another feature that we have is being able to actually have battle music for the games.
Not just be playing Undertale remixes all day.
No, because Roll20 is directly linked to SoundCloud as well as tabletop audio. And there's been plenty of tracks for just about any game I could possibly do. So we have some variety when it comes to the ambiance tracks that we can use. We will probably be, as far as how many episodes we'll be doing, well, it's probably going to be around 15, maybe more, because there's going to be some in betweens that'll be weaving into the main stories. Another nice feature is the fact that and yet, yes, as you can see, everybody else can move the characters.
I'm discovering this thing too.
Yeah.
The thing is, Roll20 is something that I have less experience than I'd like to. So a lot of this is as new for me as it is for everybody else. But it's pretty much got everything that it could possibly need. Although admittedly, we had some camera problems earlier before we went live.
Mike over there. His camera hates him as much as his dice rolls do.
Yep.
And also, you guys remember how I was tearing my hair out when it came to trying to get certain maps to get on this thing properly.
Oh God, yeah. You guys should have seen him.
He was not happy in a sad place.
It is one of those cases where I could very much go, the green square doesn't bother me, the green square doesn't bother me, the green square doesn't bother me. It definitely is bothering me. Now, we already went through Mike's weapons. He uses a couple rapiers as well as some interesting bombs. Matty, if I recall, the ciphers that I gave to you involved being able to destroy metal things. So you are effectively our automata destroyer.
Basically, I throw a thing, it goes either boom or I'm melting. Oh, what a world. You'll see as we play along, of course.
You'll
Shades,
see.
And Shades, what was your weapon of choice, if I recall, was a little bit simpler.
I've got two weapons, as you recall. I've got...
Yes.
Yeah, but basically I'm packing a couple of different swords. I've got a broadsword, for nice close quarters combat. Anyone who tries to get a little close. And then I've got myself a sword staff. Something I can swing around for a little bit of crowd control, and it's much more powerful for those bigger problems.
Mm-hmm. Because if you want to make anything more dangerous, always follow the Minnesota State Fair rule of put it on a stick. There we go. That is how the ping does. It was simple. You just hold the mouse button. See? So if I want you guys to focus on the marg here. And as you can see, everybody's focus goes right to the thing because it's probably going to be its turn. So yeah. With this, I don't have to create a convoluted engage-disengage system. You can actually see how the battles are going, or if I decide to throw a monkey wrench into things.
Uh-huh.
There's also the fact that I can use this to keep track of what was your guys' favorite thing to fuck with everybody, status effects.
One of my personal favorites, because God knows how many times I fuck people up.
So if I wanted something to say that you're poisoned, bam, there we go.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh.
Where do you see it, by the way? Because I don't see it myself.
He took it off now, but in the top right corner of your character, it actually shows a little skull and crossbones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, I'm going to miss yelling out my favorite phrase. Gravity well!
Aww.
Nope, you just slice things.
Yeah.
And the final part of this is the matter of turns. So I can put in add turn.
Yeah, you can actually see it.
Add turn. And let's see. Okay, for the purposes of this, I want all three of you to roll me an unmodified speed roll, because that is how you determine initiative.
All right,
and
so I go to character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, we don't, even though we have an initiative roll on here?
Oh yeah, you have that option as well. Roll on the character sheet. Roll me initiative.
Now, which button do I press? The green or red button?
It's always the green button.
Always the green button. Thank you very much. Well, it's one of those things, you know?
All right. So Vald got a 5.
Wow! Even in the demo!
Ow. On her laugh. Ow. Ow. Oh, damn it, Mike. What did you do? I'm still looking at it now. How do you roll a 1?
That would work. I could put in a GM intrusion for free, so I could probably say, "Oh shit, there's more margs." Roll a die, and more of them would show up. But I'm not going to do that for the purposes of this.
Yeah. What? Oh my god! Only you, Mike. Only you.
Yeah.
Now, I seem to notice we're missing something here, though.
What?
Didn't Yoda ever say, there's another?
The other one is sleeping right now.
Ah.
But yes, we brought this up last week. My lovely wife, Lady K, will be joining us as another PC for this, which automatically gave Mildred here some headaches.
Yep. Now, as you oh wait, why is no? That's not supposed to be 6. Now, as you see, if you look at the clock, hang on. The turn order goes first the Anine, then Jax, then the Marg, then Vald, and then Varric.
Fight guy gun show pose. Ultimate heal. Quick muffin.
Fix your fucking onesie.
Hey,
yes,
at least I'm smart enough to not show up like he did in that first one, but we're gonna get it.
Yep.
Let's not dwell into that too much.
But yeah. So when it comes to the with this, we can automatically see whose turn is up next. And if I decide to add some more reinforcements, I can just put them in, because the encounters, as I mentioned before, they don't roll their initiative, not even when joining. Now, I might give them a boost if say it's an ambush, for example, but that's a subjective kind of thing. But they don't roll initiative. The players drive the action with this game. So you're the only ones who are going to be rolling die. Now, I'm going to clear that for a bit, and I'm going to load up the index, because as I showed you guys before, I created an index solely so we'd have a universal thing to look at. But let's say that amidst your adventuring, let's say that Shades, you find a Numenera, and you decide to bring it back to a town to get it appraised by an Aeon priest, who are effectively the dominant religion, although the religion is more of science and logic, sometimes to an extreme. So go with the normal die thing and roll me a D100.
Nope, wrong button.
Because this is how we're going to determine what kind of Numenera you might get. This is also how I determined what their starting Numenera ciphers were. I did not pick them, I had them roll them. Okay, 99.
Wayne Gretzky. No. Obvious joke is obvious.
And the item you get, according to my charts, is water repellent plates. Hold on a moment. Let's see. Level 1d6 plus 1. So when activated, this device repels water. Let's see. It's supposed to be so. Hang on, that's a typo there. So strongly for 1 hour that it can force up to 200 pounds of pressure away from the user. In other words, if the plates were a pair of shoes, you could appear to walk on water. It could also be allowed to allow an object to float across the surface of the water. Granted, it's only one use, and it's for an hour. but it can still be done. So the final thing to note is the way we level up. Now, I mentioned that we'll be using XP spending, kind of. Every time you get 4 XP, you'll be able to spend it on an advancement. Which tracking the advancements is also conveniently on your character sheets.
Yep, I see.
Just on advancement and background. You can have it to get +4 to 1 stat, +1 to 1 edge, +1 to your effort, basically the maximum levels of effort that you can put into an action, a new skill or specialization, reducing the cost of wearing armor, since armor costs might and speed depending on how long you're wearing it and whether or not you're trained. And the only person who's going to really have any level of training when it comes to that is probably going to be Vald. And +2 to the recovery roll, or buying a new special ability. For Shades, aka Vald, that would be a fighting move. For Matty, that would be an esoteric, and for Mike, that would be a trick of the trade. When you've bought 4 of these advancements, and you cannot buy the same type of advancement twice, you will advance to the next tier, and then that board resets, and you do it again up to 6 tiers. So we are doing XP spending, but kind of not.
It's not as specific. We have specific things we can get. We don't have to just say, okay, here's the cost of this, this, and this. You know, it's all general, all simple.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's a little different there.
And that is so. Given all of that, and given the way this game is going to play, do you look forward to the prospect of exploring the 9th world?
I'm personally looking forward to it. I'm interested to see more at how far outside my comfort zone am I willing to step.
Yep. If I may give a recommendation, Shades, watch Conan the Barbarian and just look at the body language that Arnold gives. Now I realize that an Arnold movie is more Matty's gimmick, but there is a purpose to that, since he knew he wasn't a great speaking actor, so a lot of his work through that is conveyed through body language, not through his lines. Even though he did have a couple good lines. Because if you're going to be doing that, then I want you to focus more on describing how your character is expressing himself, how he's carrying his body language. I'd say Black Bolt is another example because of the fact that he doesn't speak, but that's a little bit out there because nobody's all that familiar with the Inhumans except for the Marvel Knights run, mostly because that one won an Eisner Award. Matty, what do you think about this? Is this going to be simpler and a lot less bookkeepy than before?
Hey, all I have to do is press buttons and roll dice and take minor notes here and there. I think it'll be very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Once I get the catch, the lay of the land and everything else, I think it'll be very simple to do.
Yep.
Which is what we want to do. I think at this point we can focus on being characters. So
yeah.
So easy a caveman to do it. I'm sure Matty will be fine.
So that's where we're going with this, huh?
Hey, at least it's going to last longer than the Caveman sitcom did.
Oh!
That's true. That's true.
Who thought of that was going to be a good idea?
Nah, apparently somebody at ABC.
Or as we like to call it, upper class twits in cheap suits.
But Mike, what do you think about the 9th world?
I'm excited for it. It's definitely worth exploring, and letting us know what we need to change on our sheet here to tell us what we're what tweaks we need to make to our turn to make the attack, and then just describing what our attack is. Yeah, I'm excited.
Now, of course, the I think the big coda is that a lot of the action is very much going to be dependent on your ability to describe.
Yes.
So that's the reason why I might send some YouTube clips here and there to help get the feel of an action scene, and it also definitely helps that we actually have monster art that I can utilize.
Yeah.
Since I reinstalled Nitro Pro, so I'll be able to export PDF images in whole or part from PDFs as JPEG files or PNG files, depending on my mood. And I'll be able to use that to my advantage. Now when it comes to the game itself. Now, obviously, this is not going to be the last time that I have you guys experiment with the comfort zones, but the things that I want you to, because Shays, would you say that a good start date for the first adventure, which is going to be called the Nightmare Switch, would you say that a good starting date would be September 28th?
I think we can work with that. Yeah.
Because I was thinking like 1 month's time, just so, and throughout that time, I'm going to ask you guys questions about how you want that character to think and their motivations and the like. We've already kind of gotten some of it. I mean, Shades is going to be a bodyguard. Matty Jay is going to be our mad scientist who's more a case of he doesn't know when to quit experimenting than being actually crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who said, "Oh, what would happen if I put this here?" And then you ended up causing a lightning storm that put a crater in a village. And the descendant and I think a certain descendant would have eventually said, "Not going to try that again, are you?"
Yes. Yes. Here's what happened. Here's the thing. It's like, what happened? Hey.
Not gonna try that again, are ya?
This bad.
And that was just with one battery.
Yeah.
And Mike is the person who for all his genetic advantages, he has the worst luck in the universe.
He's
You know we're never gonna let that go with you. You know that, Mike.
Yeah.
I've tried to put that to bed, but it keeps happening. It's like
Just
it happens
look
tonight.
at just
It
look at the rolls up
happens
there.
It happened tonight, Mildred, dude.
Yeah, but here's I treat it the same way as the French giving up stereotype. Dun 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 dun. We give up. When you have, as a Star Trek guy, when you have Picard surrendering for 2 seasons, it's not a stereotype if he keeps fucking doing it.
Yeah.
Let's say we need a running gag between seasons, and I'm it.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be the comic relief, and unfortunately, you drew that straw.
Yes.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And I wear that fez quite proudly.
Yep. And if anyone's asking what Lady K's character will be like, you'll just have to wait and see.
Because she was very specific about not wanting to spoil it.
No,
Yeah,
So-
she wants to.
Which is the reason why I've been very careful to make sure that only relevant PCs and NPCs can only be seen by you guys as I see fit. I will edit that down the line, like how only Shades' character can see the Red Mother, his mentor, and only and only Mike can see the character, i.e. Aeonian, his older sister, who happens to be a nano who's a little bit strange. She's had a few screws loose. She's had a few screws loose when she learned how to essentially be a hacker.
All right, so
Great.
that's going to give you guys, I think we should wrap things up here. That's going to give you guys a taste of what we've got for you guys in the future with the TRPG streams. I hope you guys enjoy it, and please don't let the fact that we're not doing a Toku-based TRPG anymore scare you guys away. I promise you guys it's going to be just as much fun as it's ever been. So stay tuned for all the fun with that, and that's going to be coming. And we'll make sure that within that intermittent time we have some things going on. So don't worry about it. In fact, actually, we're going to be making an announcement here in a minute about next week's situation, because things are going to be changing a little bit next week. So anyway, speaking of which, let's talk about what's happening the rest of this week here on RVTV. Tomorrow night, Ranger Recap Live, taking a look at the latest episode of Dino Supercharge with myself, Matty Jay, and Easy Rider. Make sure you guys check that out tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Then on Friday, PS3 game night. Join Matty Jay and Mikshel over there for some Injustice Gods Among Us. You know it's going to be insane. You know it's going to be bloody as hell, because it's the guys who did Mortal Kombat. What do you check that out Friday at 8 over on Natty's channel. Then on Saturday, SNN Gaming with Tony Helms and the gang playing more Borderlands Online. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be nuts. So make sure you guys check that out this Saturday. Then on Sunday, Toku Riffs Live. Me and Matty will be joined by Easy Rider and Spade Ace to check out the latest of Kamen Rider and Super Sentai.
For real this time.
For real this time. Hey, we had 8 and 8 last week. That was insane. So yeah, but we got the classic coming back next week as well, and we're getting close to the finale of Ghost, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you guys tune in for that, because you know that finale-a-thon is coming. Then now Monday would normally be MetroCon Live. However, due to a request from the cast and staff of that week's show, we are pushing that back to Thursday at 9. Yes, I know what you're thinking. I will address that here in a minute. But next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, the Borderlands Assault on Metro Stunt Show, courtesy of Shinobi Schools. Make sure you guys check that out. It's going to be insane. As far as what Monday goes, I might take a day off. We'll see.
Well,
but what we will have...
it is Memorial Day.
It is Memorial Day, yes. But we will have Tuesday Down with TWK and the crew, checking out the latest WWE SmackDown and providing the randomness like they always do. Don't miss that over on TWK's channel Tuesday, 8 p.m. And now Wednesday, since we don't have anything else going on right now, instead of it being a TRPG stream, it's going to be Ranger Recap. Yes, folks, a special Wednesday edition of Ranger Recap will be happening next Wednesday at 9. Over here on my channel, me, Matty, and Easy will be taking a look at that week's Dino Supercharge as well. And in case you're wondering, yes, I've conferred with Easy Rider tonight. That is what's going on. That is happening. So yeah, we're gonna have that going on for you guys. But don't worry. Even though the MetroCon Live thing will be moved to Thursday, Ranger Recap is still happening. It's just going to be happening a day earlier to compensate. Anywho, that is going to do it for us here tonight. We want to thank you guys for joining us here live and in giving us some great questions. And, wow, 2.5 hours. Jesus Christ. I was not expecting a Q&A stream to last that long. Looking at you, Mildra.
We didn't blow anything up.
Yeah. Hey, well, 2.5 hours, 90 minutes of it was Mildra rambling.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Well, we had to get a lot of stuff done. We had to get a lot of stuff, and I specifically said this was going to be the thing. This was going to be the episode where I put myself on the spotlight, because, for all intents and purposes, I'm the new guy.
This is true. But still gotta call you out, buddy. Trust me, we've all been guilty of shit. Anyway, that is going to do it for us here tonight on RVTV. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. On behalf of Mildra the Monk.
My name is Mildra. I'm your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
On behalf of Mikshel.
This is Mikshel who reminds you to leave in Fez mode.
And on behalf of Matty Jay.
Matty Jay reminding you of professional wrestling. Support your independent promotion as soon as possible. Oh, bye.
On the shades, and we'll see you guys next time. Rock on!